Firstly, thank you so much for purchasing a solar system through Apex Doma. The purpose of this video is to show you how to safely shut down your system so you don't cause any damage to the inverter or the battery, and that we're turning it off in the right order. There is a sequence. One thing to notice, we always print the sequence on one of these schematic diagrams. It's really important that you leave the schematic diagram there in place because it really helps any future electricians working on your system. Something you've got to bear in mind at this point in time: electricity comes in from the national grid, but it also feeds out from your inverter and your battery storage system. So to keep your electrician safe and your investment safe, we need to make sure we're just shutting it down in the right order. So the first thing we want to do is isolate the DC isolator. This will be the black isolator that's sat there, and it could be in a different position on your system. The next thing with the GivEnergy systems is a little isolator that's underneath. We want to rotate that. They're just a little quarter turn in terms of their rotation. The third thing to isolate is the AC isolator, so that will turn that off. Now you'll notice we've isolated both the power going into the inverter and the power from the roof as well. So there's effectively no power, but you've got to remember your battery's still on as well. So there are 3 points of energy going into your inverter. The last one is the little tiny button that's on the side of the battery there. Press and hold, it will make a noise, and then that will indicate the fact that it's gone off. You will need to wait a few seconds. We've isolated everything for the power to go out of this. They have little capacitors that are sat inside of the actual inverter, so it's just really important that we just wait for a moment for that to shut itself off. Then once this goes blank in a second, we just need to isolate the circuit that's labelled as PV on your roof, and that's your system fully isolated. If electricians working on the system, they would then follow the suitable safe isolation procedure in order to be able to isolate their circuits as they normally would do. Now this then works in the opposite way when it comes to firing up the system. You see that's gone off. That's the point in which it's ultimately going to be safe to work on, but your electrician would always check with a set of voltage indicators to make sure it's safely isolated. The next thing, we then need to follow the process in reverse. So we go from step 5, which is turning that on again. We're going to put our battery on. You'll notice it won't go on yet because we've still not turned the isolator. Press and hold. Wait for the beep, and that's that battery. It might just take a few seconds to just start itself back up again. The next thing to turn on is your AC isolator. Quarter turn back up again. It will say on up at the top of the isolator. Next thing is the isolator at the bottom of the inverter. Get it the right way. And then the final one is with the last stage. It can take a few minutes for it to just get itself fired up and working again. And again, if you do have any problems, any questions or queries when it comes to shutting your inverter down or open it straight back up again, please do feel to give us a call. We can log into these inverters remotely from our office in Windsor, so we can have a little look through just to make sure everything's got back up and working again if you did have any questions or queries. Other than that, thank you very much for taking the time to have a watch.